So, it wasn't that long. I'm going to walk you guys through a few slides and have a conversation about some of our previous assumptions on what makes a sandbox in a game like ours, and how this has evolved, our view on the sandbox has evolved. So, and you can see that I went a little bit off the format of the presentation. I like blur. We have the blur in the HUD and stuff like that in Dust, so we need to replicate that in the presentation. So, some of our learnings. Today, the tools at a player's disposal are things like fitting, being able to define your role on the battlefield. Obviously, we have a lot of items, and many people don't appreciate the technical achievement and the game design achievement that goes into putting that much stuff on a console. 2,000 items and all the permutations and all of that stuff has to be kept in memory. And it is a sandbox element. Like, you know, it is far beyond most other FPSs. The ability to, you know, customize your craft. And obviously we have robust social tools, although Denny Fleetfoot keeps sending me emails about improving them, especially the Corp interface. Shh, that was Dr. Ayo. Things like corporation, the corporation system, and obviously the chat and stuff like that, and VoIP and so on. But this is still something that is common with other persistent shooters. This is not something that makes an MMO or something that makes a sandbox, but it's an important tool. You couldn't see me. And of course, we have the team-based deathmatch. These are our base game modes and stuff like that. And when we set out to create Dust, we were very open about our intent to build it into a sandbox experience where players were able to own stuff on planets, were able to not only define their role on the battlefield through their fitting and stuff like that, but to manipulate people and backstab them and stuff. But we didn't really account for how rigid the game modes are. I mean, we of course knew, but we believed that just having these tools put together, that would make a sandbox. This is true to a certain extent, but it's obviously not proper. We all know that the sandbox needs to involve much more control by the players. You need to be able to, you know, step outside of a directed experience, such as a team-based deathmatch style game mode, you know, that is match-made and so on and so forth. You need to be able to deploy onto a planet and cloak and wait there for 2 days, if you want to, and possibly kill someone in the process, or be killed. So, when it comes to the core experience, the loop that we have built, our assumption in the beginning was that people will, you know, come into the game very happy and matchmate and stuff, and not be pub stomped in the academy or when they exit the academy, and that they would start in public contracts, accepting contracts from the NPCs and stuff like that, and then as they learn and develop their character and they become richer and stuff like that, they would naturally emerge and graduate into faction warfare. And eventually, they would join all of you guys in planetary conquest. But what actually happened was very confusing. They could like go into public contracts and faction warfare, and you know the 2% you know could go into the people that knew Denny could go into public planetary conquest. And this isn't a cohesive experience. You know, having more choice in the form of directed experiences isn't a sandbox. It's just a lot of game modes. So we've taken a slightly different approach in our thinking of it. And basically we've been like tapping into the DNA of CCP as a company and our game design philosophy, something that we probably should have been more attuned to from the get-go. I'm not going to try to make excuses. It's my fault that we didn't. So the new realization of the vision, this determination to build a sandbox, we've split into two pillars. And you can imagine these as two end games or two main experiences. On the left, we have sandbox areas, name pending. We'll come up with something cool. And there you explore, and obviously you farm SPs and ISK and loot and stuff like that. And you fight against ambient threats and other people. Eventually, we do believe that you'll be able to put a flag, and I'll go into that in a bit. And on the right, we have the contracts. And this is very similar to what it is today. You know, NPC contracts and stuff like that, and then that kind of evolves into maybe player contracts. Let's say that you own a planet and you want to, you know, hire some mercenaries to defend it or fuck someone over. Pardon the language. And then eventually what we want is to allow you guys to set up tournaments. So think of it as the organized play experience versus the anything goes sandbox experience. And to us, this is much clearer. You know, do I want to go into a more safe, well kind of defined experience? Then I go into the contracts. Do I want to simply be and, you know, allow the footprints in the sandbox to be meaningful to other people and stuff? Then I go into the sandbox areas. But there are systems that are shared and they connect the two. Things like market progression, corporations, and the chat channels, and many more. If you find the loot on a planet and you take it and you sell it on the market, you're obviously interacting with people in the contracts and stuff like that. All things that we've talked about before and very Eve-like things, and Dr. Ayo can help us define that later. But yeah, on the sandbox areas, we have this amazing universe, and the universe has security levels and stuff like that, and obviously we start in high sec. So you as a new player, or as a player that might be either very poor or you haven't really built up the courage to go against the real people, the men and women of shooting people in the face. So you start in high sec, and as a new player, you instead of going through an academy where we just put you into a team-based deathmatch and stuff like that, and it's well understood. You know, people play Call of Duty and Battlefield and all these games and stuff. It's not hard to understand, but we need to explain, more importantly than how to shoot a gun, again, something that people know. It's very important that we teach and allow people to discover the resource cycle. So the intent is to have people deploy onto a planet where you're, you know, harvesting some loot and stuff next to a guy. It's like being at a urinal, you know, stand at the toilet, like, how are you doing? You can't really kill him. It's rude, and also Concord doesn't allow you. But as you grow bigger wallets and balls, you might want to go into low sec and no security space. And a quick note on that. Today, the game is contained in high sec and low sec, obviously through faction warfare and the contracts, NPC contracts. And then we have Molten Heath. There's no activity in nullsec, but it is absolutely not only the intent, but a need to spread out. If you think about it, in Dust today, the connections that you can make with EVE players, for example, if we go on the EVE Link tangent a little bit, is severely limited because we're only in Molten Heath. You know, and like, let's say a guy up north, he's not going to travel 50 jumps just to shoot the missile down onto a planet and, you know, and then go off to Jita or something. So we need to spread it out. And that means that, in a single region, there might be fewer planets and stuff to begin with as the, community grows and stuff like that. But that's not a bad thing. That's good. That was a comment or a cough. Or a sneeze. So, just quickly on how we perceive the experience of engaging with the sandbox, both in the beginning and further in. We want you to not know where stuff is. We want you to have an emotion of fear of the unknown. You need to constantly be kind of strafing a little bit and looking, next to the rock. Now that we have rocks in Project Legion, we're very proud of those rocks, and I recommend you go and see. We have burning trees and not burning trees. We don't have any leaves, as you can see, because there are no happy trees in the universe. But yeah, so being able to scan both on the galaxy level to find areas, to find planets that are applicable to your activity, and be able to maybe see some heat map, how many people are in local, that kind of stuff. That could give you an indication of threat. If you're in nullsec, just like in EVE, you see 2,000 people in local, you're going to wait at the other side of the gate for a while. Should I go through? We want the same thing when you discover the areas with the star map and stuff like that. But also when you deploy onto the battlefield, we want you to use tools such as scanning and stuff like that to find the loot, to find other players, to discover what is on those planets and these districts. And obviously that requires it to not be static. Otherwise you don't need the scanner, you just learn and you go and you pick it up and stuff. But we need it to be distributed. We need loot tables and the distribution to be an MMO style distribution. We need to follow EVE when it comes to minerals distribution, when it comes to the roid fields and stuff like that. And obviously we know this very well as a company. Like we've sometimes fumbled and stuff, but Dr. Heo and the guys in Reykjavik are experts at it. We lead the world when it comes to the coolness of our resource systems. So I'm not that worried about that, like from a technical perspective and stuff, but we obviously understand that it's important to have it. Now, let me go here. When I mentioned the end game aspect of these two main experiences, where the end game of the organized play would be something like tournaments, and think of the tournaments like poker tournaments, poker tables, where you could almost buy into a high stakes table. It's like, I have 100 million ISK, I'm gonna go into the 100 million ISK platinum table and I'm gonna bet all my money and I'm gonna fight, and if I win or my team wins, then I get a lot of money. Or if I lose all of the money, which is good. It's not only pumping ISK into the economy, but it's also very decisively draining it out. But when it comes to the sandbox, we debated this a lot, because we are going to keep planetary conquest, but should we keep it in the current form? Planetary conquest as it is today, which is our kind of sandbox, it takes the rigid organized play game mode and it almost kind of retrofits it, or it squeezes it in to something that we call sandbox. And the fact that you have a player limit, the fact that you have limited time, the fact that you cannot just completely overwhelm your opponent with war of attrition, with better gear and stuff like that, and more of it, that you're not in control of it, isn't very sandboxy. This is it's more gamey than that. So we started talking, like, how can we move away from that? How can we just remove all of the restrictions? What would happen? So districts still exist, and as of now, we're not going to go into exact mechanics, mainly because we haven't figured it out, but it's probably going to involve, blobs and POSs. No, it's going to be something, that requires you to shoot and capture stuff and whatnot. But kind of the mental picture or the philosophy that we're applying to it is, why can I not just go onto the planet and put on a flag, and then, you know, the Australians wake up and they go onto the planet and they kick it over. And for that you might want to have a shield, or you might want to have, you know, defenses or something like that, so that the Australians get killed. Okay, who wants to kill Australians? But yeah, from a philosophy standpoint, being able to just plant down a flag, proverbial or literal, plant down a flag, claim ownership, and then, you know, defend it through the barrel of a gun, instead of a almost abstract mechanic of, you know, transferring clones that don't exist with money and stuff like that onto it. And as we develop this vision of it, we are, because we don't know what is the best, we need to get your guys' feedback on how you would like to see it. But also, that feedback needs to be unconstrained. Just like the process that we've gone through when it comes to Project Legion and stuff like that, when we're taking a step back and, you know, questioning the decisions we've made. And I'm very happy that, you know, most of the decisions we made are actually good decisions, and you know, majority of the decisions stay and stuff like that. But things like Planetary Conquest is, you know, we feel that we need to do something fairly different. And as we start verbalizing this and putting it down on paper and stuff, we're going to be very forward with you guys, very transparent about it. And when you guys give feedback, it would be really good if you could kind of set the emotions aside if you're that one alliance that owns all of the planets, or if you don't own any, and look at it objectively, like what does the game need, you know, from a sandbox perspective. Now, on the organized play side of things, having the poker tables, having, you know, NPC contracts as a way to farm ISK and SPs and stuff like that is all good and dandy, but you need to be able to converse. So a lot of effort is being put on thinking what is the best way for you to consume information, like the leaderboards or stats of other players, and even, you know, in the moment-to-moment gameplay, like how can I clearly see who this dude is and how much threat he is against me. So information is something that we put a lot of effort in evolving when it comes to the moment-to-moment and organized play experience. Building better tools for our event people to be able to run events, you know, like the events that we've had in the last few weeks. They were awesome, but they were very manual. They required, you know, Shaheen and his team to have programmers script everything that was given out to the players and stuff. And this isn't cool. There's like, I mean, it's cool that you did it, but we need better tools for more of these events to happen. And one thing that JC said, he didn't say that, wait. Yeah. One thing that he said a few months ago was that, why build these tools for developers? Why not build these tools for players? So you guys, yeah? So instead of us doing all the work, couldn't we just have you do all the work and create your own events and stuff, and maybe get a piece of the pie? If you have poker tables and stuff, you could imagine a big alliance or a corporation making a good amount of money and just being the poker alliance, or, you know, being the organized play alliance. You saw the video from CEO Pyrex yesterday. People are already trying to do this. It's just not, there's no tools, you know. You have people that are racing on planets and stuff, and apparently there's a sport in jumping on drop ships, which I did not expect. But allowing you guys to almost script, you know, choose the conditions and stuff like that, and all thematic. It can't be gamey. It needs to be, in the EVE universe and stuff. So the tools would never be, something we would treat lightly. We would have to make that experience not only for the receiving end of it, but also for you guys that would be using the tools to be fun and amazing. And then, of course, we can take it a step further, and this is something that Dr. Eyo has been vocal about. Why not expose a lot of that into EVE and allow them to bet, allow them to organize things? So these are ideas. We don't have plans for it yet, but we need this feedback from you guys. Like, what is the experience that we need to drive towards? And this is almost not a Dust 514 versus Project Legion type question. This is just how we operate, and we've been really determined in fixing the game and stuff for a very long time, and making improvements to things like controls and matchmaking and fixing exploits in Planetary Conquest, although that just happened a few days ago. So we have not really been interacting with you guys as much as we should when it comes to the next steps. Now we are, and bringing a full playable of Project Legion and stuff like that to the stage at Fanfest, and crying yourself to sleep when you look at Twitter after it. All of that is part of the process. So I think if I just leave it at this light, and we could turn this into a panel, and yeah, I hope this was informative, and it informs you to some meaningful questions and stuff during the panel. So should we maybe just sit down? I'm also very sorry how slow and, I'm not blaming it to the pub crawl. I blame it to Twitter. Yeah, let's photo bump something. Try to crash it.
Good afternoon, guys. How are you holding up? Good. Just a short comment from me on the stuff that we talked about here last year. Some of you might have been here in the room when we spoke about the EVE and Dust economy. In this exact room by a little bit over a year ago. How many of you were here then? Not that many. 4. 4. Interesting. But just as a general comment, that everything that we talked about back then is still absolutely valid. These are interconnected universes within one big universe where we want everyone to be able to communicate with everyone else once we have figured out how the heck we do it. Yeah, from a technological perspective. Exactly. But all the basic economic designs, being able to trade, being able to move stuff as a philosophy, that's absolutely still there.
And actually, I would say that it informs us even more today than it did over the last year, because the realization is that a game like ours, it's not only cool to have player trading, for example. It is absolutely essential, and that's not only because we know how to do that and stuff, but we just see the importance of items being real. And they cannot be fully real if they're seeded into the market by NPCs. So a big push when it comes to the sandbox and when it comes to economy and stuff is to move item seeding or sales entirely to players. And obviously this is something that Dr. Eyo has been experimenting with for a very long time.
Indeed. So, any questions from the audience after Atlet's presentation?
Sorry? Oh.
There's a microphone here.
Oh, there's a microphone here.
So I want to talk a little bit about travel between sandbox areas. In EVE at the moment, everything is sort of underpinned by the concept of moving something from A to B. You're mining, you're being an industrialist, and that is where I think a lot of emergent gameplay comes from. In Dust, we mostly just teleport everywhere, and our guns and our tanks teleport with us. Now, I was talking to JC about this yesterday, and he made the good point about not wanting to have this delay for casual players. You know, you want someone to just log in and play. And this is where I think our guns and our tanks should not teleport. Yes, our mines can still teleport to the battlefield. We can still just clone in. But the guns, the tanks, they need to be built and they need to be moved so that we can then attack the trains moving them.
Yeah, we've talked about this extensively. And we keep coming back to the accessibility of that. And being able to respond quickly. Like your friends are in trouble at some planet, they're hiding cloaked behind a rock. And if it's a massive process for you to get there, it's friction, you know. It's friction to the meaningful interaction that you need to have. But it is interesting for larger things, you know. If at some point in the future we emerge into resources being harvested in Dust that benefit EVE, for example, those resources, those are not, you know, blueprints that can be 3D printed on a planet. Those are things that have to be moved.
So I guess just to clarify, I don't think the player should ever be experiencing these delays. It should be the corp management. When you get up to the strategic level, the alliance leaders should be worrying about moving things around. If you're just in a public corp, the NPCs just do it all for you.
Yeah,
it's all instant.
Okay, yeah. So both from a storyline. What?
Having for the sandbox, you have a storehouse where the clones and the weapons and the gear are all stored, so that when they come attack us,
that makes sense.
And then we don't have any gear, we've got to move more in.
Yep, similar to what the clones are, but you would like to break that up into more atomic elements. Okay, that's good feedback. Let's convince JC over beer tonight. Thank you. He's over there. Let's. Sorry. He chooses. Next one.
Hey, Anamati, from Dust 514. Planetary Conquest right now is amusing. Your concepts are interesting. But a lot of Dust players want to see more of the EVE Dust link. And what I mean by that is it could be Twitch streams inside the EVE guys' captain's quarters, but I mean more along the lines of more meaningful interaction with the EVE guys, something that they want. Because 10,000 players on 60,000 planets is a little overzealous. I think we need to focus more on things that matter, like reducing POS reinforcement timers, or things in Sovereignty, flipping POSes for the EVE guys. So what are your thoughts on how to rectify that?
Well, for one, I think it's going to be really hard to run around on a plasma planet. So we wouldn't have 60,000 of them. But yeah, your point is that, being confined in Molten Heath and yada yada, but also on the other end of the spectrum, having too many places and stuff diminishes the interaction between the two games. And what is our plan to increase the interaction between the two games? We have at the core today, even if people think that it's centered around orbital bombardments and stuff like that, and some ancillary benefits in faction warfare, the main EVE link is through socialization. The fact that you can belong to the same corporations and stuff. And I would say that before we have direct gameplay impact, as in extending that, we should nurture the social aspect of it, and we should add in the economic aspect, not only on an alliance level, but between individuals. It's not hard to imagine a player, scavenging or resource harvesting on a planet in Dust or Project Legions, right? finding something that is valuable to an EVE player and selling it to him, or maybe giving it to him or whatever. And just getting that spark, that, initial, truly beneficial interaction. Of course there is a lot of benefit and awesomeness being able to communicate and stuff like that, and we need it. But until there's an economic link, I don't think we'll fully understand the impact that an EVE link has. The orbital bombardment is fun. It's an activity, but it doesn't define the link. We need the economy to be the first thing that we tackle as we expand on the link.
Which is basically the same as in EVE today. The more and most meaningful wars are about resources, trying to control and maintain areas that allow you to finance and control the economy in your big alliance. And people seem to have two ways of communicating. They either try to trade with each other or shoot each other. So we'll have to have both.
Was that sufficient?
Well, my suggestion is to work more toward actual impact on sovereignty.
Yep. No, and we agree.
Yeah, and make it more meaningful. Yeah. There's a reason why you want the sovereignty.
But when it comes to the baby steps, we'll need to take the individual to individual economy into account, and then we'll emerge from there.
You pretty much mostly answered my question, and I have to agree that economy and socialization come first before PvP. But do you think it will come to a point where you guys will look at and implement fighting between EVE and Dust, being able to beat the snot out of each other from the ground and the air?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we're all in alignment that we would like something like that.
All right.
Obviously, it's not our focus now, but when we brainstorm at pub crawls over beer, we sometimes get to things like, how cool would it be if I was able to shut off modules on a Titan, that kind of stuff.
Or even just being able to use a target painter and hit
something like that.
From the ground and hit stuff in orbit.
And this is the kind of stuff that is not tremendously complex when it comes to technical, but it's very complex when it comes to the game design aspect of it.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to define those things that are kind of on top and having a very soft middle, we need to harden the core so that this can actually work. Otherwise, we'll end up with infrequent orbital bombardments.
Yeah. Thank you. It's good to hear that from you.
Cool.
So this is more to add on. You talked about the orbital bombardment. Like you said, it was kind of more like a gimmick to add to the game. But to me,
it's not a gimmick.
Well, okay, but it's not. You don't feel the real immersion. But in PC, you guys did a change where you add it for every 3 minutes. There was a ship on a satellite. EVE Pilot could give us an orbital strike on top of our Warborn strike. And what just from that small little change, that little edge you could have when two equal corps came together, it would be the difference between flipping a district, taking their land. And so what you saw was one guy sent one little ship, a destroyer. Then another guy came back with two. And then you started getting this organization of fleets, definitely nothing as big as, PL or Goons. But before that, we had no interaction with EVE. And then now we have people on, our team comms talking about, we're asking how the weather is up there, all that stuff. But, so yeah, I really feel like if you add, more kind of like combat, maybe use a ship as like a satellite where it can scan everybody on the battlefield, the top or like the top tier players are looking for that kind of edge to make the, to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
My second question, that's more to the economy. Right now, there's kind of like in Dust 5.1 there's a ISK distribution. There's some people who don't have enough to even run like advanced gear, and then there's some people where proto gear means nothing. Will that be the same in Legion, or are like there's obviously going to be those 1%ers who have a huge amount? But
in all games, there's not an equal distribution of the income. People have different specialities, and they like to do different things, which means that you will have different wealth as well. We see that very easily so in EVE. I think we will just learn from our past experience and to make sure that the balancing of Project Legion will be more in line with what we would like to see in the future.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
And to the first question, don't think it's a gimmick.
Okay.
It's amazing. And the stuff that happens around it is amazing. It is, however, in the hands of very few. So I guess that's more the philosophy that needs to guide us in the beginning, is how can we expand on this so that more people can experience it. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's seeing the fleets form and stuff like that. And not to mention, if you're out of Molten Heath, if you're like evenly spread like butter around the universe, then we'll probably see more of it.
Yeah, like even just stuff like, so, you know, we're in the war barrage for 8 minutes waiting for a game to start, or if you're gonna keep that mechanic for like the prep, it'd be I don't know if you can do it. It'd be amazing if we could see the spaceships, maybe just like a stream or just the indications of them on the satellite, and if they're fighting, you know, that's even better for the, you know, while you're waiting for your own battle, you're seeing, you know, spaceships fight each other. So, thanks.
It's cool.
Yeah. I wanted to check a little bit about tactical equipment. I think there's a huge lack of that in terms of tanks. I think tanks are quite well balanced for the time being, but they would need like webifiers or something to we need something to...
Fuck yes.
Yeah, like webifying grenades or frostbolt shooting, forge gun, or liquid nitrogen swarm launcher, whatever.
Santa gun.
Just something deployable, radars. And why the fuck can a tank sneak up on me regularly?
Because you suck.
No, it's your fucking in-game mechanics, go.
Just asking.
Blame it on me.
Making no judgment.
Yeah, so you did the cloaking device, brilliant aspect. I really liked it. It added a whole new element to being scared on the battlefield. But what's going to happen in this perspective?
Yeah, I mean, electronic warfare and all the mechanics that either exist and need to be upgraded and stuff like that, but more importantly, mechanics that don't exist, is important to us. And that's why we put the effort into cloaking, and we want to put the effort into other mechanics. I personally want to have stasis web. I think that combined roles, like MMO-style combined roles, where you have the tank and the heavy hitter and shit like that, and the tackler. And of course in EVE, you have the same. You know, you have a roaming gang of 3 dudes that one of them is an interceptor and he tackles or whatever. I want that in our game. I want that type of coordination to exist. And to do that, you need roles to be fairly defined. You can't have these multi-roles. You know, every person can do everything type of stuff. So as I see it, you could imagine one person webifying someone while another guy, energy drains him, while the third guy, finishes him.
Yeah.
Now, that may not be fun and stuff, but from a vision standpoint, and not fun, obviously, for the target, but also for the other guys that have to just wait and point. But philosophically, from a vision standpoint, this is something that is really interesting. And the only way to achieve that is to do things like, expand on electronic warfare and stuff. So just so you know, we want it.
Yeah.
But exactly what it is, we need to fail a couple of times really quickly, and implement something that works really well. And if you have any ideas, don't hesitate to be trolling on the forums about it.
I don't participate in the trolling on the forums. It's way too messy for my messy head.
I'm just wondering.
Can you go closer to the mic?
I'm wondering, do we actually have to care where our stuff comes from? I mean, in Dust at the moment, no one, we just buy stuff from the market. And in Legion, will we be to just buy stuff from the market? And we don't, someone else can deal with putting it on the market as long as it's cheap enough. And then just use our stuff and then go kill people, possibly, hopefully, with other people's money. And then just, and then have fun and not have to worry about the metagaming behind it all. Because
if I may jump on that one, Atli, because this really also relates to the design philosophies behind EVE. Of course, you as an individual should not have to care, and specifically as a new mercenary coming into the game, playing in high sec, it should flow naturally to you, and you shouldn't have to think about it. But it needs to become meaningful, and you understand that you are actually having an impact on this universe. And then it starts to become meaningful to you because you're working with others and you have a common goal. So I would say, as a new player coming in, no, you shouldn't care. And I'm saying our design should be such that once you've been there for a while, you say, holy fuck, I care.
But it's optional, it's not mandatory.
And absolutely optional. Absolutely optional. You take the path. Okay. It's you who decide what you want to do. That's the basic premises of a sandbox.
All right, thank you very much.
Cool.
Hi. I'm sorry, my name is Zatara, Rotten Game. And, Hi. Mom.
And I'm a Dust player.
And I'm a Dust player. An endangered species. So I spent a few hours this morning going through a few of the tweets and forums myself, and one of the main questions that I was asked, or that I decided to ask, that I saw numerous times was, now that we've seen eventually what Legion plans to be, what updates for Dust and over the next year between now and next Fanfest can we expect? What we know that it was explained that half of the development team is working. So outside of a bit of polish and balancing, what updates do you see in the future between now and next?
There's a lot of things that we can update, a lot of things that we should.
Specifically?
No, I mean, specifically, there's always, performance-related things. There's missing weapons for racial
Maybe there's
parity.
2 missing heavy weapons?
Yeah, the unnamed 2 missing weapons. Yeah. There's mechanics like fixing things or balancing things and stuff like that. Obviously, many of these things we don't have to do with a client update. We can do with backend updates and just, streaming the data to you through content streaming. But exactly what it is, it's really hard to say. Like, for me, basically because I don't know. Like, we just came out of this Project Legion effort to explore that and stuff like that, and we're doing planning. We're trying to get to a point where we're confident with where we take it, and that involves laying down the plans for the next update, whatever that is for Dust. So in the massive effort of trying to be vague, we just don't know, and I think we need to. You need to give us a few weeks for us to sort it out, if that's okay.
I'll take it. Thank you.
So, polar opposite of the gentleman's question earlier, you say that the market is going to be entirely player controlled. Where does all the gear come from? Is it industry from on a macro level with EVE and micro level with Dust, or
from loot?
Yeah,
from loot.
But I mean, did we state that it was going to be completely player control from the beginning?
No, we of course need to have NPC sell orders for certain bed of items, just like EVE had.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then as the market matures, we would phase that out. But it's never going to be all of the items. It's going to be base items.
Okay.
And then all the cool shit requires,
And that's the same principle as we have in EVE today. We sell blueprints, skill books to monitor and control the money supply in EVE. So it's part of managing the economy is to be active on that market. While 95% of the stuff that is sold is player-made and player-driven. But in the beginning, in the first 2 years of EVE, CCP had to be active on the market just to make sure that everything was fulfilled and was working smoothly. And once we reached a certain core, CCP was able to withdraw from that and only looking at their market activity as a management of the economy. And I expect very similar approaches for Dust as well in that respect. Also because what we are looking at is the EVE universe is growing, and my role is to think about that design on a very high level, and then not just do whatever Active tells me to do.
Fuck yes. As long as you don't force the players to do something that they're not interested in doing. Like if they're not interested in exploration, don't force them to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Cool. We have to step it up in speed.
Okay. This is Aaron Wolfsaber of the CPM. I got a quick question for Dr. Eo over there. One of the, what I like to call a sandbox event that has occurred in Dust 514 between EVE and Dust is the penchant of ISK transfers between the two games, or ISK exchanges. What are your thoughts on this sandbox event existing?
I think it's awesome that it actually the pressure is there. So this is just showing us how important it is that we get it right for the two universes so they can flourish together.
Okay.
But we need to keep an eye on it.
Hello there, Denny Fleetfoot, CEO of Dust University. As you've taken the time and trouble to trademark it up there, can you explain what Valhalla is?
Shit, I forgot to change the. No, I'm kidding. It's like a wordplay. It's an internal joke because we have Valkyrie and stuff. Like where do Dust guys go when they die? Valhalla.
Yeah. So what's Valkyrie? What's Valhalla then?
No, it's the organized play. It's just I put TM as a joke. TM.
Atlee, you and your strange sense
but
of
humor. Course, when you think about it, all mercenaries want to go to Valhalla. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, and this is not something that I probably should have included. I should have changed it.
No, you probably shouldn't have.
But this is from our internal conversations, so I just decided to show you guys.
It suddenly became external, so I think you ought to start telling people a little bit about it.
Can I change it?
Sure.
Can we blur it in the feed?
No. Anyway, your public's waiting.
But there is no name called that. Just to be clear, it is. I'm not kidding when I say that it's. Let's not go. Don't go on Twitter. Let's not.
Too late.
Hey, Mick Rubridge from Scrubbed Reddit. I was wondering, because when we first started going into Planetary Conquest, we were absolutely terrible at it, and we got completely wiped. We lost a lot of districts and stuff. I was wondering in EVE Legion, would there be an ability to do a scorched earth policy, like maybe set off a tactical nuke or something to destroy the infrastructure, so they don't get it because we're really butthurt about it, and we can't play the game properly, and we're all terrible directors, including me. But yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing technical that will stop us, but it's not on the plan right now.
Okay. Dent, if you're watching the stream, I'm sorry.
But we could add it on the plan if you guys organize on the forums.
That'd be nice. For everybody that's watching the stream, I'm Zion Shad, and I'm in line for Gibble, who runs Boots on the Ground. He asked about the tournament tools. He wanted to know a little bit more about it. How much have you guys really thought about it, or is it just still one of that little bubble in the air?
We obviously have a lot of experience with running tournaments and events and stuff like that very manually. So we know the pain points when it comes to what needs to be addressed from a user interface and the whole flow of setting up tournaments and stuff like that. So it's not just something, an idea or a term that we forgot to pull out of a presentation.
Well, then the other question would be...
It's more calculated than that, but I can't describe it. I have no idea how it works. Talk to him. He'll walk you guys through it later.
Cool. And then True Zero, he asked a lot of questions, but I'm only going to pick one. He wanted to know more about the NPE.
Okay. We have to wrap it up, so I'm going to speak really quickly. The NPE of Project Legion is going to put you on a high-sec planet where you start by engaging against drones and resource harvesting and stuff like that. There you might see players or not. It's a sandbox. And this is to teach you the core resource loop. NPE will be articulated in the client through the mission system. So there's a bot or an AI guy, and I'm not going to announce who that is because there's a storyline aspect to it that keeps feeding you these missions and stuff like that long after what would normally be a PvE NPE period. So yeah, I'll articulate on that more later.
Cool, sounds good. To everybody who keeps telling me to kick devs in the balls, Fanfest is not over yet.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you. And remember the keynotes this afternoon. You'll get a lot of more information there.
Yes.